Hello, so I'm going to be reviewing the book I'm currently reading. It's A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. He has also written The Cry genre. It is quite a popular book, I guess. So I picked up this book because it was sort of on written. All I knew before picking up the book was it's written on two Afghan women. Now lately, it had been coming a lot into my notice about the rules that Taliban is currently imposing on these Afghan women and how oppressed these women are in Afghanistan. So there are two main characters in this book. One is named Lela, and the second one is Mariam. Now, I had absolutely no clue going into this book. All I knew that it's going to be about the life of two Afghan women. Now, I am through the first half of the book, and mind you, I have felt so many emotions, even though I'm not through the book yet. And there is just so much sadness. I'm filled with sadness when I read this book. In fact, I did have to take around two breaks already just to get through like half the book. And I won't give any like spoilers, but overall, what has happened till now? There's this main character, Mariam. Her life starts when she was a child. She had a mother. The mother passes away, and she gets married very early on in life. And there's just so much baggage and so much emotion, and there's just so much empathy for that woman. And it's just heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking on a different level to read this book, especially as a woman. It makes you realize that you're born with so much privilege. Like, I mean, how could somebody be living in the same universe and be experiencing life so differently than you just because she's a woman? And it is just mind-blowingly heartbreaking. It is the good characters are just like they have been done so much unjust in life, and it is truly heartbreaking. I have the rest of the book to go through. Now, by the end of every chapter that I finish in book, I take a break. I take a real break. I want to watch something lighthearted. I want to do something more lighthearted because I feel very deeply empathetic with the characters, especially as they are women. And I have watched a couple of documentaries and read a little bit about life as an Afghanistan woman. And well, I don't know. Let's see how I feel after finishing this book. So this was my review for the first half of the book. The second half I shall get back. There was also, I forgot to mention that there was a little bit of the chunk of the book that was a little lighthearted, but just when I thought it is getting a little lighthearted, it got really, really bad. I mean, it's just crazy. If you feel like you're not an empath or you don't feel emotions, you should definitely read this book, especially as a woman. I don't know a man would feel this book so deeply, but as a woman, I felt every bit of it. Hi, so welcome to part 2 of me reviewing book A Thousand Splendid Suns. I have completed the book now. Now, as I was speaking in the first part about the two characters we have here, Leila and Mariam. Now, Leila's story mostly is in the second half of the book, whereas a good chunk of the first part is just about Mariam. Looking back at Mariam's life, me as a reader kept thinking, where are the good parts? Now she's gonna have a good part. Now she's gonna have a good part. Her life is going to get better at some point. And well, for a very, very brief moment, it did with Leila's companionship. But well, the ending was almost heartbreaking. She dies for a predator's murder. Like, that guy was a predator. And he wasn't seen one as in the Afghanistan and the Taliban rule, but he was a predator. And I kept questioning, like, how is this fair? Like, okay, like, how can life be so unfair to somebody? Uh, when Mariam was just about to die, when she contemplated back on her life, she still thought that she still had things to be grateful about. I mean, life so much of hardships and barely any happiness. Do people out there actually have these kind of lives? Like, you know, there are just downs and never ups. Well, it was quite sad, seeing how the story ended for Mariam. Now, coming back to Leila. Leila had come from a background of freedom. Her father was very well read and also gave her a lot of freedom. And she did have her sad parts to life. But when she suddenly came into Rashid's house, you know, Mariam never had it very good from the start, but Leila did. And at one point, it all went shit. Like, Rashid's house, she was oppressed like she would have never imagined. She would have not imagined this life in her wildest dreams. And how bravely and how courageously she went ahead with her life. She hoped for a better future and she tried. She still did not give up. She tried to run away once and also took Mariam along. She gave Mariam that hope that she could have a better life, who had already left hope really, really long back. And as the story ends for Leila as well, it is a happy ending for Leila. She gets to be with Tariq finally. There is a lot of stuff that has happened before she meets Tariq. Tariq has gone through a lot, and Leila herself has gone through a lot. And the story evolves to show how the dynamics change between them, but also the emotion there still remains. And how Leila honors the small bit of companionship that she had with Mariam in every way possible. And how Mariam is still a part of her life. And how big of a sacrifice, in a certain way, Mariam made for Leila. Uh, you know,
it shows that companionship can like mean so much for a person, especially a person in need, especially a person going through a rough patch in life. Well, for Laila, it did turn out to be a rough patch in life, but Mariam didn't have it very great earlier also in Kolba, and when she came to Rashid's house, then also she didn't have it very great, except the chunk where she had Laila's companionship, where she looked forward to the teas with Laila. Now, after Mariam sacrifices her life, Laila goes back to her kolba. She goes, sits there for a while. I think it was just to feel Mariam's presence again, you know, to see the places that she had described and, to see what it was to be Mariam as a child. And I think that definitely brought them closer, even though Mariam was not around. And I mean, it was such an emotional thing, also to find out the CD that, Jaleel had left for Mariam. Oh my god, when I understood the context of it, that it was the movie that Mariam as a child had asked Zaleel to take her to, yeah. Oh my god, I mean, there are a lot of parts in the book where I almost get goosebumps. It is very deepingly sad, like deepingly sad. The book, it puts you through so many emotions that you didn't think you could have for just mere characters of book. And it puts you through so many emotions that you didn't think you could have for just mere characters of book. And coming back to Lela, okay? Lela had finally settled down in Pakistan. She did have a small and a life she was really, really grateful for, but she still chooses to return to Kabul. And, she teaches and, works at the place where she had put her daughter. I mean, Lela in Free Kabul was not only living, her dream, she was living Mariam's dream in a sort of way, because I bet Mariam would have killed for the life that she had. And she let her go because she thought, if I don't get to have that life, at least Lela does, right? And it was sort of Mariam's dream. It was Mami's dream. Her sons had sacrificed their life to see Free Kabul. And here was Free Kabul, and Lela was living the dream. And it was Babi's dream, to see Mariam thrive and to see Kabul thrive. And it was Hasina and Giti's dream, and she'd appeared in the newspaper, uh, you know, exactly as they had predicted when they were a child. So, and Hasina was married off when she was quite young, and Giti dies in a bomb attack. So she was living so many people's dreams. It was not her dream alone. She was not just living for herself, but living behalf of all her loved ones that were no more there to witness it, and who had somehow helped her to get in this place one way or the other. Everybody had helped her through their life's journey for her to be where she was that day. And well, if you've ever cried reading a book, you should definitely read this book. I bet, especially as a woman, this book is going to make you contemplate that, how women need uplifting in today's world. And still, in few places of earth, they're just mere objects. They're not treated as a second gender of a human being at all, but just mere objects. I mean, this book is gonna put you into a lot of retrospection about your life and the things you have to be grateful about. I think after reading this book, I am made aware of so many things I'm grateful about that I didn't even consider before reading this book. This book does sort of change your life in a very unsaid way. So definitely should read this book, especially as a woman. Thank you. Bye.